What I plan to do in this video is explain why I believe that the 1851 Colt Navy revolver that's in the Cody Museum at Cody, Wyoming actually did belong to Wild Bill Hickok. I'm not going into the history of Wild Bill and his encounters, such as the one with David K. Tutt on July 21st, 1865 that resulted in Tutt's death by a bullet fired by Wild Bill that went through Tutt's heart at approximately 75 yards, but I will be discussing the type of guns that he used. The gun in the Cody Museum is a Colt 1851 Navy 36 caliber. The gun is engraved, has ivory grips, and was manufactured in or around 1868. Reference here is from a book by Joseph G. Rosa. It's chapter 2, and I'd highly recommend this book and the author for the information about Wild Bill. Title is Wild Bill Hickok, Gunfighter, copyright 2001. Now, I've never visited the museum or seen a picture of the gun until my brother showed me pictures that he had taken of the gun and a holster. I was working on making a Western holster for a percussion gun at that time, and he gave me the photos to help with the project. I noticed the front sight on the gun was not the standard type that Colt used on their 1851 models. It appeared more like the front sight on the muzzleloading rifles of the 17 or 1800s. And Rosa mentions this and felt that the original had been replaced, but doesn't go into any speculation as to why. Now, I and many others have had some experience with shooting these replicas of this style gun. With the original sights, they have a tendency to shoot higher than where they're aimed. Typically 6 to 8 inches higher at 25 yards or so. And this would even be higher yet at 50, and eventually the bullet, by dropping, would get back to the point of aim at 100 yards or more. Now, this might work out fine for military situations, although I believe the guns were not intended to be used at such distances, and probably marshals such as Wild Bill would need to use them at a considerably closer distance. Another problem with the original sights is that there's no real easy way to adjust for windage, and that is how far left or right the bullet might go from where it's actually aimed. Now, both of these problems can be addressed by changing the front sight to, say, a Kentucky-style sight that is higher and has a dovetail in order to adjust for possible windage issues. Well, most folks that are familiar with Wild Bill's history agree that he was an excellent shot with a handgun and therefore probably counted on the gun to hit where it was aimed. I think he might have intentionally had the front sight replaced to accomplish this. Now, I've done this on more than one gun of this style, and it makes sense to me, therefore, that he had this modification made. In 1965, the author, Mr. Rosa, was visiting Horace Hickok, Wild Bill's nephew, and he took a photo of a gun that Horace claimed to have belonged to Wild Bill. The sister, however, claimed the gun had belonged to Wild Bill's brother, Lorenzo, and showed letters that said the gun had been sent home from the Civil War for safekeeping. The picture on page 29 appears to have the same style front sight as the gun in the Cody Museum. I won't show the picture because of copyright issues, but would encourage anyone with a copy of the book to comment on this. We could even further speculate that it may have been the gun that actually dispatched Davis Tutt in July of 1865. Now, these are not the only two 1851 Navies, I'm sure, that have had this type of modification made to the front sight. Recently, I noted one, or saw one, that sold at an auction that appeared to have the same type of a front sight. Possibly the Colt factory had the option, but surely other gunsmiths could have done this. In my experience, though, there are very few 1851 Colt Navies that have this style front sight. Well, in any event, if I get to the Cody Museum, because of the style front sight this gun has, I'll feel with a higher degree of confidence that I'm looking at a gun that actually belonged at one time to Wild Bill Hickok.